been in the middle of a full-scale propaganda war.
I spend my life sort of cross-examining angry XP specials.
As long as they're objective, and then that's the key.
Probably the best championship football I've seen in at least a decade.
It was a great championship and I hugely enjoyed it.
I think I need to give him a few little grinds, and that's football predictions.
He's able to get under my skin. I'm going to have to get that under control before next season. The two-game series between Cork and Kerry just copper fastened the notion that Cork were in Kerry's thrall.
Like, first of all, they were great games to be involved in, you know.
When you lose your greatest rivals, like, you don't want to lose them in anything.
When you think back over all the games you've played, definitely the two Cork games are up there. The first day in Killarney, conditions were probably better.
The battle of the champions. Munster and League champions against the All-Ireland champions. Popping it in. Oh, a good save by Alan Quirk. In Paris, Paul Kerrigan. Can he get inside the cover? It's 1 against 2. It's Kerrigan. Brilliantly blocked down. Patrick Kelly floats it in towards Paul Kerrigan. Did well. Michael Shea right beside him. Still Kerrigan getting inside. He uses the fist and he puts it over the bar. Hall Quirk. 2 minutes of additional time to be added on. Colin Cooper to Donaghy. Anybody home? To Donaghy. To a wide. 69 minutes and 20 seconds. Cork look for a winner. Very difficult angle. It's Colin to go. Brilliant. Cooper.
I think both sides had opportunities. I think on balance was a fair result.
I'll certainly be looking forward to having a good tussle with Cork next week and hopefully going through the front door.
When you go down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh, usually, you know, Cork are, in the last few years anyway, if you're looking at history, Cork have always beaten Kerry.
We did realise that it wasn't the be-all and end-all of everything, because, you know, we had won the Munster Championship in the previous 2 years and ended up not winning in All-Ireland, so we were quite clear in terms of what was important.
It was going to be very tough to go down there and beat them.
As I said, we were equally confident going into the replay. It wasn't our day.
That free has been picked up here by Aidan Walsh. Was a very poor one. Now Walsh has a go from a distance, hanging in the air again. Horrible one for the goalkeeper. Drops it down and it's in the back of the net.
We always thought we would have been a bit more ruthless, like, and we probably weren't those 2 days. Like, you know, at the end of the day, Kerry have some of the best footballers in the country, like, and they have that winning mentality in them. Like, they all have 3 or 4 All-Ireland medals, and they knew if they were probably with us about 10 minutes to go that they could get us back. Like, you know, they have that kind of player. Like,
going long inside towards Colin Cooper, looking for Donaghy. This is a goal chance, and that is a beauty. Donaghy scores.
We kept at it, you know, and eventually we got it to extra time, and we felt then at that stage that, you know, we were well capable of driving it home.
Canty goes down. It's a second yellow, and Cork lose a man, and Graham Canty is red carded. 2 minutes to play.
Before I knew it, I was in front of the goal, you know, so thanks be to God it worked out, and we got into extra time, you know.
1 point the margin.
We grew up watching him playing against Cork, and demarking him is unbelievable. Like, and I done okay against him the first day. He got the better of me the second day, but, you know, that's it. Like, that's football.
O'Shea's in. O'Shea's kick, and he's drawn the game level. Cadigan slow to get to him. Barry John Keane strikes and puts it between the post and over the bar. Kerry beat Cork in a replay at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Galvin superb.
And Paul Galvin, who you said was hugely influential in the match and in turning it Kerry's way, but he was involved in an incident again that was picked up by the cameras.
Yes, unfortunately, we found ourselves talking once again about Paul Galvin and his disciplinary issues. I have total respect for Paul Galvin as the footballer, but why he keeps finding the need to get involved in this sort of thing is beyond me and probably beyond a lot of people in the Kerry camp. But what he does here is totally unacceptable, and there's no place on a football pitch. There's certain things, taboos, that you don't do, and this is one of the things you do not do to another player on a football pitch. I mean, you see in the replay to stick his finger in Owen Cadigan's mouth and to pull downwards. Like, it's just totally unacceptable.
Boy, was I glad to know that I wasn't on.
in the game that night.
Paul, I think, in terms of the disciplinary process, gets what he deserves, no more or no less.
From a Kerry point of view, what we were maybe not too happy with this year was maybe that other incidents weren't highlighted, whereas the Kerry incidents were.
Paul Galvin is what he is. I mean, he's not an axe murderer, you know. He plays very hard and he's hot-tempered and he's easy to rile and all of that. On the other hand, he's very charismatic and he's a brilliant Gaelic footballer, you know, and I think the game's the richer for him.
The big thing for Kerry this year was our Munster campaign. We knew that game against Limerick was going to be very tough. The fact that the game was played in Killarney was a massive advantage for us, because if it was up in Limerick, you'd never know how it would have happened.
Kieran Donaghy, Donncha Walsh to the coach, to the back of the net. In 2010, Kerry are Munster champions once more.
The battles Dublin and Meath in the past had kind of taken a lull a bit, and Dublin had been on top for so long and stuff that they really wanted that one.
We haven't beaten them since 2001. Last time we won Leinster, you know, there's only about 2 lads on the panel who had actually beaten Dublin.
Meath being the best team, Dublin really putting it up to them at stages, and then these goals coming from just nowhere.
I think that Meath just got the run in Dublin that day.
Stephen Bray, former All-Star, chasing after his Fennell. He gets away from him. How's it go?
I think that was a once-off. Yeah, I genuinely think it was a once-off. I mean, look, the Meath weren't that much a better team than Dublin.
Ward going, shooting, what a goal!
You know, for me, even though it was brilliant to beat Dublin and score so many goals, I also saw the seeds of our own downfall were being written that day.
You know, it was the likes of Stephen Bray on the day that pulled the game for us. Like, the goal he got was fantastic. You know, there's not many other goals you're going to see like that scored in the championship.
Stephen Bray, and Bray almost in, and Bray could get a third goal here, and does!
At the time I warned that this scoreline was a false one. For me, I always look at the number of points a team runs up, and I think Meath scored 9 points on the day. You don't get 5 goals every day, and even though there were 5 brilliantly taken goals, there were sort of individual efforts, and you know, in another game they weren't just going to get those.
Scoring 5 goals was, you know, two very good. 3 of them should have been free out. So it was one of those days when everything went wrong. And, you know, Dublin full backline were always that little bit novice, and they were rookie full backline, and they were up against an experienced Meath forward line.
One Dublin defender took it away from another, and Sheridan is not going to look a gift like that in the mouth.
I just thought that this was a once-off and they'd recover, which they did.
That was the kick that we needed to get going.
And how about that for a finish?
If we had got over Meath that day, we probably would have got a bad drubbing either in Leinster, as like we have done the last couple of years in the first round of the knockout, and it's too late then. So we're delighted to get that nail in early on, where we could have a chance to change things.
I think it's an absolutely disgrace, the decision that the referee made in the last minute of the game.
That sense of opportunity lost will dog the people of Louth for many, many years, and Martin Sludden will, quite rightly, be the villain insofar as that's concerned.
He hadn't got a clue what he was talking about. He said he should have given a penalty and this, that and the other.
Will they ever come as close to winning Leinster in the next 20 years? I don't think so.
It's 50 years when we last got to the Leinster final. We worked very, very hard, and today I think we were absolutely robbed. And as far as I was saying, he's Dick Tobin without a mask.
It was Meath versus Louth in the Leinster final. Like, Louth were on the brink of winning the first Leinster in 50 years. You know, we still hadn't won in 10 years.
You couldn't describe the colour and the atmosphere and the people talking about the game, the flags and everything that was around the place. It was just, the hype was ridiculous. So whether we were going in as favourites or not, it didn't really matter, because there was that much hype, you know, around the towns and that it was hard to get away from it.
You know, we expected a tough game, and you know, obviously everyone knows we got it.
Here's a chance for Rooney. What a goal by JP Rooney! Meath are looking for an equaliser, and Louth will finish this match with 14 players.
The ball came in, I just knocked it down, just happened to break the shame.
It's in towards Josh Sheridan. It's, oh yes!
What a block by Paddy Keenan, you know, it was one of it's what heroes are made of when you see that stuff happening.
It's stopped on the line somehow. Seamus Kenny had the chance, and it's in the back of the net.
I thought you'd given a penalty, to be honest, you know.
I didn't realise what was going on. It was just, I didn't realise that the goal would stand. Like, I thought there was no way it would have been allowed, you know.
Somebody scored it. Louth are protesting that it was pushed in. Meath fans are celebrating.
what happened in the Leinster final was just outrageous.
I think Martin behaved pretty obnoxiously that day. You know, he was high-handed with the players, he wouldn't listen to the umpires. You know, it was a vital call.
We came in, I heard him saying to the umpire just to put up the flag. He didn't ask him, you know, he didn't consult with him right like that. He came in and just said to put up the flag, and I was just that shocked. I couldn't even say anything to him. I didn't for 1 second think he would have allowed it.
Referee Martin Sludden and his umpires got a major decision wrong.
You know, whatever I say isn't going to make much difference to loud people and loud players, and you know, it was just very unfortunate the way it happened.
There's a few choice words there shouted at him from a few of the boys now.
Oh, this shouldn't happen. That is disgraceful.
This is outrageous,
That
actually.
is disgraceful.
What happened thereafter was not acceptable. People are very entitled to be upset and angry about it, but they're not entitled to take it out on the fella.
It wasn't right what happened, and none of us condone what happened. And you've seen some of the players, even trying to get the fans or whatever away, and look, it wasn't right. And I don't think anyone could condone it or say it was right, you know. But look, tempers afraid, and probably people went a wee bit over the edge. But it's just unfortunate the way it happened too. You know, it shed us in a bad light too.
And this is
thuggish, it's wrong. I don't care what the result is. This is absolutely wrong what is happening to the referee.
In a way, it was a pity that the game didn't finish a minute earlier, because Meath would have been beaten. Everybody in Meath would have gone home and said, you know, we didn't deserve to win, and that would have been the end of it. Louth would have had their provincial title, and Meath would have to go the back door, and everybody in this county would have said, you know, we deserve nothing else.
To this day, I will say it was one of the greatest injustices of the year that either the GA, the Leinster Council, the Meath County Board, or its players, that they didn't offer Louth a replay.
A few people just jumping on the bandwagon saying this and that, and they should offer a replay straight away, you know.
This is such a story. This is just, you know, the way it finished. I was actually getting ready to go on the 6-1 news.
Well, the ongoing attempts to have Sunday's Leinster football final replayed are set to be ended tonight, one way or the other.
And there can't ever be a rule that could allow that match to be replayed, because if there was, every single match would be replayed.
There was no legal basis upon which the game could be ordered to be replayed.
In my opinion, and in all our opinions, it just shouldn't have happened, and it's, you know, it was unfortunate we had to come out and make that decision, and I think a lot of people would have agreed with us in the end.
Truth was, had they played the game again, it's very likely they would have won the game.
Would have beaten Louth in the replay, and that again the high model ground. And instead, what happened with Meath was that, you know, they were public enemy number one because of their lack of sportsmanship in not offering Louth a game. But it was a great year for Louth. It's a great year for Louth.
Well, it's leaving a lot of bitter memories, and in the end, the 2010 Leinster GAA football final has been won by Meath.
It just brought a very sour taste to what should have been a big day for Louth.
It's, you know, it's going to be one of the highlights of my career. Unfortunately, the way things finished up, you know, people say, how could you say that? But, you know, I have a Leinster medal, and I'm absolutely delighted with it.
To me, the provincial title wasn't worth anything to me, and all it did, as far as I was concerned, was even poured on extra pressure on the players before the Kildare game, and pressure they could have done without.
There was certainly a strong sense this was going to be a most difficult fixture for Mayo.
I just thought at the start of the season that Sligo were such a sure thing to win Connacht.
I suppose we had home advantage and stuff, but
Great atmosphere around the place.
we managed to get over the line. It was I suppose it's kind of a barrier that may have been broken for Sligo as well, just to get over that line, you know.
It's 10 years since they've beaten Mayo, the team who took their Connacht title off them in 2008, hammering them in Castlebar.
Just said after last year that there was going to be no more moral victories, so we just gave it our best shot, and that's what we got.
Who wants it more? It's Sligo who have the lead. Mayo got the last score. Gilmartin for the home team. David Kelly way out in front of Vaughan. Kelly on his right boot. Beautiful contact with it and a great point.
That was the night the Queens came off from Mayo, loving Sligo.
Kelly goes again. He's got support inside. Kelly from a tricky angle, and that seals it. That is the insurance point. And the referee blows it up at Sligo. Have beaten Mayo. The Connacht champions are no more. They will go through to play Galway in the Connacht semi-final.
Terrific games, both of those matches, and a 1-point win for Sligo in the replay.
Colin McGee kicking, and Colin McGee putting it over the bar. And Sligo and Kevin Hurch have prevailed here against Galway.
So now they went into Connacht final roaring favourites.
The Connacht final, I think Sligo just turned up to take the cup.
Sligo beat far better teams than Roscommon. And you know what happens is once the underdog gets the roll on you, it's so hard to change your mindset and start again. It was a huge shock.
Be first time territory maybe for a Sligo team to have had 3 big games and come out on top in the 3 of them, you know.
Listen to the cheers if this goes on.
You know, the positives we take out of it, like the whole second half there, we were pushing on, and had we kicked 1 or 2 out of the chances we got, it could be a different story. Them are the things that hopefully, you know, even looking back on Kerry last year, that they'll take something from that and use that to drive it that next step next year, you know. It's going to be very, very difficult, but them are things they have to learn in life and in sport to move on.
Sligo are beaten. Roscommon have won their provincial title for the 20th time in their history, out of nowhere.
Tyrone were tested in Ulster. Everybody lay down to them.
I think that the standard of Ulster has declined.
This year was quite a poor year.
First 20 minutes against Down was a scary place, all right.
There's a chance here of another score. It's hit right on the meat. Down have started brightly.
We turned over that 6-2 deficit and went in, think maybe a point up or something, which is so important to us to do at that time.
The best displays that Tyrone ever gave, they absolutely choked down for the rest of that game.
Looking at the possession that we had, we still felt it was a game that we could have won when we sat down and analysed it. On the day, it seemed very frustrating in the second half. It certainly seemed men against boys.
Over this side is Penrose, great ball. Onto the left boot, sailing between the posts. And Tyrone are making it look easy at this stage.
Everyone in Ulster now is afraid of Tyrone.
Coming to terms with the way Down were playing and asking the questions of them rather than the other way around. That's what we did, and I suppose we picked off enough scores then to keep us ahead, and a 14-10 was a good victory on the day.
A very impressive second half performance by Tyrone. He's happy because Tyrone are heading to the Ulster final.
We were in a good place because a lot of talk was on about how Monaghan could turn us over, and we were kind of under the radar to a certain degree. People weren't giving us much credibility for the fact that we'd won so many Ulster titles in the last 6 or 7 years, that we had won a few All-Irelands to boot, and Monaghan were coming along as this sort of team that was going to change the world.
Tyrone defending their Ulster crown.
Monaghan never got going in the final.
McCullough is calling for it. Kavanagh, there's the icing on the cake.
The Ulster final, I'd say Monaghan would be disappointed with their performance.
And Monaghan been beaten out the door in Clonus.
We were very happy with ours.
They've been totally dominated by the Ulster champions, who are still the Ulster champions.
It was very important to get the back-to-back Ulster titles. People may dismiss it, an Ulster title is no big deal because you've got a few of them in the last year. We certainly relish every one of them that we can get.
A hugely impressive performance by Tyrone, and their hunger, their appetite, their desire is just as strong as ever.
And when you can put 2 back-to-back that hadn't been done for the previous whatever number 10 or 11, 12 years, whatever it was, it's good to do that.
Tyrone has become like this sort of the evil empire, you know, and that everyone's in its thrall.
You've got to try and set your own little bit of history, if you like, and it doesn't always be about winning All-Ireland. It's about progress across time, and that's something we can aim for this year.
Teams like Cork, in particular, don't appreciate that's what has happened up here. You know, so Cork still aren't that particularly overly concerned about Tyrone. Their big problem is the Kerry machine.
Tributes have been paid to the former Chief of Staff of the Defence Forces, Lieutenant General Dermot Earley, who has died.
Dermot Earley was a man of the people, and yet he was not of the people insofar as he seemed to have a standing and a bit of charisma about him, which was different from most people.
Out now to Dermot Earley. Dermot Earley is shot at a goal! Oh, what a wonderful goal!
A friend of mine met him once when he had the General's regalia on. Fergal McCuskey, who played in the Derry, and he said, you know, same. He said, like meeting John Travolta.
Probably the most memorable night was that Saturday night in Newbridge when Kildare played Antrim and Dermot Earley lined out after burying his father that day. This was the GA as a family. Mayo shouldn't be beaten by Longford.
Mayo seemed to have lost their heart for the county team, for the county game.
There was a sense that Mayo were a little bit vulnerable.
Mayo have been absolutely abject in the last number of years, and it must be a source of great grievance, you know, and mystery to the Mayo people, because this shroud of sorrow seems to have settled down over the whole county.
John O'Mahony should have been manager of Mayo many years ago, but he didn't. He wasn't offered the job.
Longford had a famous win and held in for John O'Mahony, which must have been terribly disappointing for him.
I've just told the players in the dressing room and informed the county board that I'll be stepping down.
I think that John O'Mahony was given an impossible task in many ways.
Mayo just fell off the championship at nowhere, and it remains to be seen now how they can relaunch themselves next year. Saturday afternoon, horrible conditions.
I mean, Galway, what are Galway doing with an outside manager? You know, an embarrassment and humiliation. You know, I mean, the GA is supposed to be about this.
Goalkeeper again comes off his line, comes out for his Redmond Barry, calling for his PJ Banville. Inside, there's a chance here for Eric.
You know, is it any wonder that it has ended the way it has ended?
Tucks it away.
Galway were abysmal. The Joe experiment didn't work. I mean, I despise this idea of bringing a manager halfway across the country, you know.
They now find themselves out of the championship completely.
Galway, by losing at home, they had all the advantages. Well, they couldn't have had a huge argument when they bowed out of the championship, and that spelled the end for Joe Kernan.
From the very beginning of the year, I had always said that I thought Pat Gilroy had adopted the right policy.
I think from 1 to 15, I think we worked very hard the last day against Tipperary too, and that's 2 good games for us now. And the team that's in transition, I think they're doing very well.
We've always had major problems beating the Nordy teams and stuff, and the so-called big names and stuff.
He knew that he couldn't win in All-Ireland with the team that had been there the year before, and he set out to bring radical change to it. And I'd say it took everybody, including the players, a long time to buy into his philosophy.
I think that Dublin won that game a lot more easily than the scoreline suggests.
Fennell around the corner and over the bar, and that might just be the insurance point.
It's huge for these lads to get these wins, and I think it's a huge monkey off our back.
Well, the home supporters have seen glimpses of Dublin in full flight. Now the question remains, can they close this out? Bernard Brogan with his 9th point of the game.
A lot of players after that probably said to themselves, maybe this fella does know what he's doing.
This was an Armagh team who were a pale shadow of the great Armagh teams in the past.
The current Armagh team, in my view, are a poor team.
Vernon, robbed by Paddy Andrews, brilliant.
And this was an Armagh team that had won forward.
It's all over, and Dublin have passed their latest audition and take another small step along that September road. They've beaten Armagh in the championship for the first time since 1977 and booked their place in round 4 of the qualifiers.
A word on the performance of Bernard Brogan. I know that managers don't like to single out players individually, but he was outstanding today.
He was all right. It was okay, I know.
People talk about watershed moments.
We were looking at the draw for the qualifiers after the Wexford game, and it was probably one game we probably, we're probably a bit nervous about, because in fairness to Limerick, they always put it up to us,
It's difficult to play against Limerick because Limerick are going to set out to make it a low-scoring, hard slog of a game.
That was the winning the All-Ireland for Cork.
I think it was a Saturday night and it was 10 or 11,000. There was a fairly good Cork crowd as well.
Shawnee Buckley, great legs, good hands. Can he finish? Oh, off the crossbar!
Ever since they beat Cork, I think since 2003, they've always matched Cork and matched Kerry. They've never been too far off it.
Getting inside John Galvin, Kavanagh taking the challenge to the Limerick man and scoring. Long ball required, Colm O'Neill called for it. He did this in Croke Park in the All-Ireland final. What a save!
We had the game well and truly in our grasp, and we made 1 or 2 mistakes towards the finish. But again, if you'd taken those 1 or 2 mistakes out of it, we were fairly comprehensively in charge of that game.
We're into injury time. James Ryan lobs it in. There's a push. The referee has blown his whistle, and he's given a penalty.
We probably took our foot off. There's no doubt we did take our foot off the pedal that day.
This has to go in for Limerick to have any chance. It's there. They're back in the match.
Dallas with the bad kick out. Limerick got a smell that we're back in the game.
The kick out is not a good one. Right man, John Galvin. Limerick have to retain possession. They flick one through. It's Conor Fitzgerald. It's over the bar. Sensational.
Coming in at full time and to listen to that Limerick crowd, they were really baiting, and you felt a sense of blood. They were looking for blood.
I had a feeling watching that they'll win this now. They're at home. They're in extra time. Cork mightn't have the stomach for this.
When the question was asked, there's no doubt that Cork put them away.
Extra time, you know, it certainly would have looked as if they had the initiative.
Counter-attack is looking good. This is Donegal O'Connor. Gets the movement, gets and the point.
We dug deep, we got out a result.
Patrick Kelly on the turn. He has yet to score in this match. This time, he doesn't miss. Here's Donegal O'Connor, cutting it inside. Good ball. Kieran Sheehan hits it perfectly.
But I would say that the Cork management went away and feeling to themselves, well, at least they have a bit of backbone, this team.
The referee blows the full-time whistle.
When the gun was put to their head in extra time, they responded very positively.
And Cork have survived.
I remember meeting the Cork crowd after the match, and they were absolutely delighted. They were saying, this is it now, like, we're going to drive on from here. You know, it was almost like we proved to them, we proved our mettle. And I think it was a good win for us, to be fair.
Down were on full power, ready to rock. Kerry weren't. The game was over very, very quickly.
We had 2 tough games against Cork. We had a tough match against Limerick. I thought that the rest would do us good.
They arrived into the sort of nightmare in Croke Park of a team that weren't the slightest bit concerned about them.
But it was the Kerry team missing, Paul Galvin and Tomás O'Shea.
They were massive losses.
We knew everything we needed to know about their players. We knew who they were going to be missing.
But in saying that, you know, we went out that day against Down. I suppose we were quietly confident. But Down, I suppose, were coming under the radar.
It was a huge shock. Yeah, it was a huge shock. I didn't see that coming.
They got the goal straight away.
Mike McCarthy is it down towards Micheál Quirk. And the down midfield is quite a strong combination. Ball inside. It's a chance for Poland. It's the back of the net.
And they were very good. I mean, they played really, really well and got great scores. And you remember the early goal they got, Poland, I think it was, roofed it very early on. And just like, come on, game is on now, we're taking it to you.
Kerry respond. It's 2 against 1 here. Right man, right place. Gooch to Donaghy. Brilliant save by Brendan McVeigh.
Yeah, I do think we caught them a wee bit on the hop. With such a short space of time between the games, there's very little preparation they could do to find out information about us, so that helped us as well.
Almost 12 minutes since Kerry scored. It's dropping in. Dan Gordon knocks it away. There's a chance here. Back out, right man. Flicks it inside to Donaghy. Chance of a goal. Brilliant save.
Down had a few games and played and them on the day, but going into that game, I would have been happy with Kerry's preparation.
The penalty near the end and a couple of consolation scores made the scoreboard look a lot kinder to Kerry than the game was.
Floating one in towards Kieran Donaghy. A penalty to Kerry. And it's a consolation prize.
And there was a huge controversy in that match as well.
Trouble looming for Down. It's the Gooch. It's Cullum. It's Donegal Walsh. It's Killian Young. It's the back of the net. But the referee has blown his whistle.
Again, look, these are the decisions that go against you. Killian got the goal. We felt it was a good goal.
Kerry players are protesting.
Kerry were deservedly beaten.
They were back in the game if they got that goal.
But Joe McQuillan's whistle did sound, and he's indicating that it was a foul pass.
Kerry were outraged. Jack O'Connor went nuts over that decision.
Kerry people to this day will certainly wonder why Joe McQuillan became the first referee in 3 months to reintroduce the old interpretation of the hand pass.
That was a critical call. I mean, I prophesied that when that rule was brought in, that someday it would cost the team big time. I'm not saying it cost us a game, but it was a crucial call at the time. And just desperately disappointing because we'd fought our way back into the game.
If that goal had gone in, we possibly could have got something out of the game.
It's Down's day in Croke Park.
Down were the better team, they were the hungrier team, and they played lovely. I played some lovely football.
I'm sure if we were to play Kerry a week, 7 days later, you might find them with a different mental attitude.
Any year, as you know, Kerry have very high standards, and any year Kerry don't win the All-Ireland, it's not considered a success. So I suppose if you look back in last year, we got as far as a quarter-final. It wasn't a success.
We were just delighted to be in an All-Ireland semi-final.
Kerry weren't good enough to win the All-Ireland, and that's the way it was, and we'll deal with that, you know, and try and come back next year and move on.
Great match. Yeah, very enjoyable match. Great result for Dublin.
Tyrone weren't able to get scores that we would normally associate that team with.
They were crucial moments because Tyrone had plenty of ball and they had plenty of chances and plenty of opportunities.
I'd have to say that, we were our own worst enemy on the day. I think we played a lot of good football and we had so much possession, scoring opportunities, and really our finishing let us down.
Good play by Mulligan, beyond O'Neill. Oh, he was in between two minds there.
And in the end, that's what cost them. I mean, they put themselves into a position to win the Dublin game, but they just didn't have the forwards.
Kavanagh on his left to try and tie up the match, and it's gone left.
Great game of football, full of passion, full of fire, full of everything that's good about Gaelic football. I really, really enjoyed that game.
I never enjoyed a match in my life as good.
And this was the first ever time that they had a plan to stop Bernard Brogan, and he single-handedly, particularly in the second half, beat Tyrone. Fabulous display. And, that one in the player of the year, just that performance alone.
Huge one down towards Brogan. They've isolated Brogan, and Joe McMahon might have been denied a goal earlier on, and this time he's just as content to take a point. But it's 9 points now for Bernard Brogan.
Dublin were full value for the win. I thought they played excellently with great discipline. And psychologically, it's a huge boost for them because they've suffered so much at the hands of Tyrone.
That they showed that you have to have certain methods to beat different teams.
Well, vindicated to the degree that they won the match, you might say they were.
I have to say, I've seen some unbelievable ricochets off posts in my time, but not anything like the one that landed into the big Dublin full forward's arms for the goal.
Broken down by Brogan as far as Paul Flynn, and Flynn outside of the, but it comes down to O'Gara. He's kicked another one.
I don't think Dublin played a lot better than us on the day. In fact, with 65 minutes gone, was anybody's game. The ball off the post, it came back to their man for a goal. The one Irish come off the crossbar, turned to nothing.
McGuigan here to burst his way through.
Martin Penrose was straight through for a goal and a whistle in the crowd. Perfectly timed, stopped him going for that ball.
They can't stop him. Penrose! Oh! Strikes the crossbar. Kavanagh blocked down by Barry Cahill.
Tyrone are probably the most well-organised team of the last 10 years and stuff. Mickey Hart's an unbelievable manager and stuff, and to beat him at his own game nearly, I'd say was huge for Pat and it was huge for the team to see that we are going the right direction. And like I'd say, we'll be taking a lot of ideas from that going into next year.
And Dublin eliminate Tyrone from the championship.
Ultimately, Pat Gilroy wants results, and whatever he needs to do to get that within the rules of the game, then I'm sure he ought to be about that.
It was an all-round brilliant team performance.
The players put a huge amount into it. I think they were an improving side. I think we would have got better as the year went on, but we'll never know that now.
These lads who delivered in the past are more or less gone past their sell-by date, and that's what's showing. It's loyalty and blind loyalty.
I don't agree with that at all. I think that's a very cheap shot to point out somebody's age.
You don't suddenly become good again at 31 or 32 or 33 when you have 10 or 12 years of championship football under your belt. It doesn't happen.
So if an older player has a poor performance by his own standards, why not just let it be that he had a bit of an off day? Why attribute it to his age? I just wouldn't quite agree with Pat, as I don't with many things that he says.
After losing ourselves earlier in the year, we couldn't underestimate anyone, and they were their own provincial champions.
Are they a top 8 team in the country? No, but they'd won the Connacht deservedly. They were in the quarter-finals. They were an average team.
At the end of the day, when you get to Croke Park, they're going to be lifted by playing in Croke Park as well as provincial champions. I remember they had a big crowd, and I don't think it was that soft a draw. You're not going to get any soft draws.
Cork won in the second half because they decided we'll stop being negative, we'll stop being defensive, we'll stop having our half-forward line back into defence, and we'll put our half-forward line up as forwards, and we'll just take on Roscommon. In a few minutes in the second half, the game was over. It's a contest, full stop.
Well dispossessed. Alan O'Connor, Pierce O'Neill, it's 3 against 1. This must be a goal. Cork can look forward to an All-Ireland semi-final.
It was a good game of football. Started well. You said you thought Meath would win it.
We played the first half, I thought we played some great football, some of the best football we played all year for about 10 or 15 minutes there. The 2 goals just before half-time absolutely knocked us off nervous.
Down towards James Kavanagh. Oh, lovely solo. Brilliant goal. James Kavanagh with his 6th ever. Oh, here's the chance. It's O'Neill. And it's helped in by Alan Smith.
We see ourselves as, a team that should be pushing for All Irelands every year, and it was just unfortunate the way Kildare, that was quite well in the end, and we were disappointed the way it finished up.
Definitely was, I think, the best atmosphere we've all played in.
It was just electric.
Well, it was a brilliant day's entertainment, and for an outsider, it was just terrific.
There's no doubt about it when the Dubs are involved. There's something special.
We went for an extra long play right in front of the hill, and the noise just for that 5-minute parade was just unbelievable. The place was almost rocking.
Everyone was just off their seats and just roaring. You couldn't hear yourself think.
Bristling atmosphere around Croke Park.
There's no other coliseum in the world that would give that, and that's what we all play football for, and that's the days that we all live and dream about.
At the end of the day, it's their home pitch as well, so it's almost like a 16th man for them.
We were being written off nearly from the start of the year and stuff, and that's great as a player. It's always great to be an underdog.
Again, it's McMahon trying to get to him. Kerrigan drilling it in. And Cluxton thought that was going wide.
You put arguably the weakest Cork defender on the best forwards in Ireland in last year's championship.
Ball came and I made a half run for it, and Ray came with me and tried to play it in front. Just took a few steps back, and just kind of caught it nicely on a turn as well, so I didn't lose much ground. And Ray wasn't going to catch me there, and I just took a swing at it, and thank God I just nestled into the corner.
Niall Corkery, brilliant ball in, he's got away, goal chance! Goal for Bernard Brogan!
Everybody in the ground was wondering, gee, Cork are gone.
They play a game with a severe intensity, and we knew that they couldn't keep it up for very long.
Cork were the panto villains that day. They sort of tapped them on the shoulder and said, not so fast now.
If you continue to keep going, you will eventually break down, and I think, that's what worked for us in the finish, that eventually the gaps started to come, and, maybe one or two cracks started to appear.
To me, Cork had no idea of how to get through. They didn't appear to me as if they were going to be able to score 4 or 5 points, and they needed to get a goal from somewhere, and they got the goal courtesy of Dublin Charity rather than something that was manufactured.
Concession of the penalty was almost unforgivable.
Goal chance perhaps, and he's dragged down, and a penalty. Ross McConnell giving the penalty away.
That penalty was massive pressure. If you miss it, now you're definitely defeated.
Cork's challenge as they bid to get back to the All-Ireland final. Goal for Cork. He sent Cluxton the wrong way. It's a brilliant penalty. They're all brilliant when you score them.
Make no mistake about it. The opportunity arose because of Dublin defensive errors.
I think, they had a lot of new fellas on the team and a bit of inexperience there towards away freeze. They were probably a bit over enthusiastic.
And Ross McConnell has been sent off.
Fairness, you make your own luck, and Cork at the end, they put the pressure on us, and we missed a couple of chances that could have sealed it for us.
It was brilliant to play in, and I think when we started to come back, then the Cork fans got a bit more vocal, and things just for the last 10 minutes was just madness, and then the final whistle was just such a everyone was so overjoyed, it was just unbelievable feeling.
They will have the chance to put right the wrongs of 2009. Dublin have fallen short in yet another semi-final.
The best team lost. But look, at the end of the day, when you look at it in 2 or 3 years' time, that the result will show Cork won, Dublin beaten, and I won't say anything about, Dublin were the better team.
Dublin had the game won.
And I'm sure, the Dublin boys still feel sick in the pit of their stomachs when they think of it,
I definitely think we left it behind us.
They're a work in progress, but they'll have to improve to win in Ireland.
Going into next year, we're not going to be afraid of anyone, and we're not going to have that kind of sneaking doubt that we have had in the past.
It was actually just a fantastic spectacle, just to see the white and the red and black. I'm watching on the TV afterwards, the colour just seemed to jump off the screen.
It was one of the better football matches of the year, in a year where there was lots of good games.
Kildare, they were going to come in with a plan on how to try and take us apart, and that was something that I knew was going to be different from the Kerry game.
It was a brilliant game of football, and you get that with teams who are new. They were a bit inexperienced. Teams which come new to the scene tend to go out and play with a bit of abandon.
There's a difference between confidence and overconfidence, and we were going in with quietly confident, but certainly weren't getting carried away with ourselves.
Kildare in a good spot, great start, everything going very nicely.
The goal was no doubt important for them because they started without confidence.
Clark gets the return eventually. Goes for a ball in, a dangerous ball.
The most obvious square ball of the whole championship. It was the most obvious square ball of any club match I was at this year. I mean, if there was a neon light flashing on the ball as it was coming down in, I don't know how they missed it.
Strange that the best referee made a really bad decision on the day.
That said, for the 40 minutes thereafter, Down utterly dominated the game. I mean, they turned over Kildare countless times. Kildare could make no headway. Down played brilliant football, brilliant, attractive football.
Chance here, it's all over the bar.
They threatened at times to overwhelm Kildare. They could have had a couple of goals themselves.
For the next 10 or 15 minutes after that, they were deflated. They were mentally down. It possibly cost, I think, Kildare maybe a place in the All-Ireland, because at the time, Kildare won the ascendancy.
Runs on, nice ball laid off from Aaron Smith. There's a goal chance here, off the post.
We did feel that it was a game that we were capable of winning whenever we sat down, as we did against Kerry. We did the matchups of who we wanted to mark their players.
Down to left half forward, Paul McCluskey. Inside is Peter Fitzpatrick, gets inside the cover. And the second one hits a shot, brilliantly blocked down, comes back and the goalkeeper is there. Corey O'Neill goes for a long ball. This is the vital break for Kildare. It's Eamon Callan getting it around the keeper. The Lily Whites are back.
We thought we were coasting with 10 or 12, 15 minutes to go, and then they came back in it and they put it up, and we were holding on actually by our fingernails, Callum King's fingernails.
Kavanagh wants to take it quickly. Over fires David Lyons, gets inside the cover. Blocked down, it's there again. Rebounds. They're all over the place. There's a touch along the ground. The penalty, is it coming? The referee is being called. The referee says it's a throw ball.
Crazy.
Tension, palpable. Kildare have to get it. Tomas Connor lays it off. This is Brian Flanagan trying to get through. Referee's blown his whistle. And all of Down seem to be inside the large rectangle.
Had the ball gone into the net from the 21-yard free, which again was just summed up the day. You know, the huge excitement of it.
They seemed to have no indecision at who was going to take the free. The man came, took the ball, and there was nobody else arguing with him.
Here comes the shot. Kelly goes for it. Hits off the crossbar.
Had the ball gone into the net, you know, you would have been saying, oh my God, you would have been feeling for Down the way you'd felt for the Dubs.
That ball could have gone anywhere. It flashed off the crossbar. I think it hit someone's shoulder and flew out.
Feeling after that, it was just obviously relief and disbelief at the same time.
Downer through to the All-Ireland football final.
I think it would have been better if it was a draw that day. That was such a great game that I think everybody who was there said it's a pity this doesn't end in a draw and they can go at it again.
You'd have to feel for the Kildare boys.
We think over the 70 minutes we probably deserved it.
A major occasion, you know, even in the weeks leading into it, the whole hype.
The magnitude of the All-Ireland final is a different beast.
I remember saying to the lads, you know, there's no guarantees we're going to win this one.
I just couldn't believe that, you know, how much of a big kind of circus a lot of things were there.
The noise that was being made by the crowd, even though it was only 20,000 more than the semi-final, something that took me by surprise, to be honest.
I firmly believe from the start of the year the Cork would win the All-Ireland.
All the pundits are criticising them, but still think they're going to win.
I firmly believe that day, even at half-time, that they were going to win the All-Ireland.
It's kind of obvious that some people had nailed their colours to the mast pretty strong.
I'd said before the game that I fancied Down to win the game, and I did think Down would win the game, and I thought they would win it primarily because of Cork's lack of confidence, and also because I wrongly assumed that Down would play a sweeper, as they had done throughout the year.
I think all the pressure was on Cork from the 1st of May.
You know, when you look at what's happening around us today, and, you know, a lot of doom and gloom, and, you know, I was saying to the lads, you know, real pressure is if some one of us gets up tomorrow morning and we don't have a job to go to.
David Coldrick from Meath gets the final underway.
To look at the first 10 minutes, we looked as if we could open these guys up and we could do an awful lot of damage.
Cork should have had 2 goals.
Straight away into the inside forwards it goes towards Sheehan, broken down to Donegal O'Connor, then back to Sheehan, goal chance, well saved, and it's put in the back. No, it's not. Somehow it stays out.
We made a conscious decision, well, especially as forwards, to go for the goal if it was on in the first 10-15 minutes.
The goalkeeper in this situation, you must think of him in your mind as a figure of fun. He'll only save it if you let him save it.
Yeah, you could have been disappointed, that we didn't stick one or two scores, particularly the goal chance maybe that Killarn had. No, in fairness to him, made an excellent save on that.
Back to Hughes, scoring chance here, might even be a goal chance. Oh, it's up and it's over the bar.
We didn't score, I don't think, for about 20-25 minutes, and probably things were getting a bit iffy, alright for us.
And Danny Hughes puts this one over the bar.
A couple of weeks things happened before half time. Instead of going in 5 up, we only went in 3 up, but still obviously you would have taken, but 5 would have been better.
Going in half time, I think those few scores kind of settled us a bit, to be honest.
I think that the crucial score was the score that Cork got just before half time.
Donegal O'Connor, who scored from a free, has scored now from play.
It was just, a lot of fellas just said they didn't want to have the same feeling as 2009.
We're 3 points down here. We haven't really played well. If we can up it, 10% here, this game is there for the taking.
We knew we had a few problems around the field, and we just sat down, we talked them out, sorted it. There was no roaring and shouting, and we were just ready to go for them for the second half and just do the business.
They seemed to come out in the second half, certainly all guns blazing, and for a while looked as if they were really going to run away with it.
It's a different match. It's much more intense all of a sudden. In as far as Donegal O'Connor. Kicking, he scored 2, he's now scored 3.
Look at this one. Goulding was sensational in this final.
Cautiously playing it in towards Goulding. 2 young players, same club, Éire Óg in Ovens. Awkward angle, what a score!
We had problems around the middle of the field getting primary possession. We were living off scraps, but we're still in the game.
Very much there for the winning. Kieran Sheehan. That's a lovely looking kick and it's gone sailing over the bar. And the teams are level for the 3rd time.
Obviously, we needed to play well at that stage, and then, when the need was great, as fellas rose to the challenge.
They stood up in the last 15 minutes and they did play. They did play with verve and passion.
O'Connor, well blocked, and it somehow is scrambled out. Kerrigan has it. Going cut inside here, dangerous. Great score, Paul Kerrigan's first.
I think it put us in front, so it was a great feeling to get on the score sheet in All-Ireland final, and especially just to put Cork in front for the first time. I think it was about the first or second minute. I
know people think they played better in last year's final, but who cares? They won, and that's it.
There it is, and it's all over. And Cork are the All-Ireland football champions for 2010. Celebrations all around.
It's just an unbelievable feeling, which you're just so satisfied, all the hard work, how much work everyone else has been through, and everyone's feeling the same, and just absolutely unbelievable.
They were the deserving champions of Ireland. They were tested every way you want.
The 7th time ever. What an ovation, what an afternoon for them.
It was a great feeling, it was a great feeling to be part of a management team that had worked so hard.
There is no such thing as an easy All-Ireland. All-Irelands are one tooth and nail. Every ounce has got to be put out there, and everything has to go well.
It was so much for the players, guys who had, worked so hard, many of them, as I said, over many years, and, it never looked as if it was going to happen for them, and all of a sudden now to see them reach their ultimate goal, it was just fantastic knowing they had worked so hard for it. It was just a great feeling.
we kind of heard that there was going to be a massive crowd there, but probably didn't believe it. You know, we were getting photos from iPhones and things like this saying it was a huge crowd. It's just great for the city, really, like a real sporting city, and you'd be lifted everyone, really.
How the sport has, you know, in terms of lifting people, you know, shouldn't be, you know, it certainly has to be seen to be believed.
Now on to, we have a second helping of sport. This time we're looking back at a year in hurling action, culminating in a Tipperary-Kilkenny showdown in Tipping Point.